Hello, my name's Sedran and I'm currently in my final year at Bangor University studying sports science and PE. The aim of this podcast is to help people understand and develop the breaststroke. Breaststroke is the slowest of all competitive strokes because of the large fluctuation in the velocity that occurs with each stroke cycle. Breaststroke swimmers generate a large amount of force during the propulsive phase of each cycle, although they also decelerate each time the swimmers recover the legs in preparation for the next kickback. Swimmers who compete in the other competitive strokes lose only about 1/3 of their forward velocity during the recovery period in their stroke cycle, where many breaststroke swimmers almost come to a complete stop when they recover the legs forward. I'd just like to give you a brief introduction of the breaststroke's history. Breaststroke was the first stroke swam in competitions. At one point, the swimmers were permitted to swim under the water, although this proved to be too dangerous. There were many recorded incidents of swimmers passing out under the water, so the rules were changed in the late 1950s, so the majority of the race was swum on the surface of the water. To help break down the stroke, I'll use the black principle. This method is used by many coaches to help individuals develop the stroke. Black will act as my 5 focus points throughout this podcast. The B represents body position, L leg action, A arm action, B breathing, and finally T for timing. My first swimmer has developed the characteristics of the flat style breaststroke. She has a horizontal body position in which the swimmer's hips remain at or near the surface throughout the entire stroke cycle. The swimmer breathes by lifting and lowering the head so that the flat position of the trunk is not disturbed. My second swimmer has developed a wave style breaststroke. Her shoulders are out of the water and her hips are down. Her body is inclined down from the shoulders to the knees when she breathes and recovers her legs forward. This style is most commonly used by competitive swimmers. The both body positions are very similar for the two styles in all other phases of the stroke. Both swimmers remain horizontal and streamlined during the propulsion phase of their arm stroke and also the propulsion phase of their kick. There are 2 types of kick, the whip and the wedge. This swimmer is using the wedge kick. My second swimmer is using the whip kick, which is most commonly used by competitive swimmers. There are 5 different phases of the breaststroke kick: the recovery, outsweep, catch, insweep and glide. The kick cycle begins as the feet and the lower legs are recovered forward. As they approach the seat, the feet gradually turn outwards to a 45-degree angle. The swimmer then sweeps her feet outwards as well as forwards until they are outside the swimmer's shoulders and facing backwards. This is where the catch takes place and the swimmer begins to apply propulsive force. From the catch, the swimmer sweeps the legs out, back in and down in a circular action until the legs are completely extended at the knees and nearly together. From there, the legs move up into alignment with the swimmer's body and are held in a streamlined position. The legs are straight, toes pointed and the ankles are plantarflexed. The legs rest and rise towards the surface. As in all propulsive actions, the kicks accelerate throughout the movement. There are 4 different stages of the breaststroke arm action: out sweep, down sweep, in sweep, recovery. The swimmer begins the out sweep by sliding their arms out and forward as they near complete extension. The hands should trace a semicircle path, sweeping out, forward and slightly up until they pass outside the shoulders. Competitive swimmers should not glide after they extend the arms forward. This will only cause the swimmers to deaccelerate longer between the end of the propulsive phase of the kick and the beginning of the propulsive phase of the arm stroke. The down sweep is a brief action, sweeping downwards and slightly outwards. The down sweep takes place as the swimmer's hands and arms are positioned outside the shoulders and facing back. The swimmer's shoulders should be kept high, flexed approximately 90 degrees. The in sweep is the only propulsive phase of the arm stroke. The swimmer pushes their arms back, down in and towards the ribs until the swimmer's hands are together and inside the shoulders. After the swimmer completing the in sweep, she moves on to the recovery. She stretches her arms forward smoothly and streamlined, with the hands remaining close together. Some swimmers hold the glide, but competitive swimmers do not usually glide, although they achieve the streamlined position before starting the next stroke. The swimmer breathes after every stroke. The swimmer pushes her chin forward and remains close to the surface. The swimmer then lowers her head to pursue the fairly horizontal body position. The swimmer takes in an in-breath as she raises her head out of the water. The swimmer then releases the air gradually with a final explosive out-breath just before the next in-breath. The key to a powerful breaststroke is the timing. The swimmer's arms pull while the legs rest. The legs kick as the arms recover. Swimmers can also repeat pull, breathe, kick, glide while they are swimming. This will help swimmers correct their timing. For example, pull, breathe, kick and glide. To conclude my podcast, I will introduce a selection of drills that can help swimmers develop the stroke. My first practice involves a swimmer standing waist-depth water, leaning slightly forward whilst carrying out the arm action. The swimmer will progress to using a pull buoy that will be placed in between the swimmer's legs. The next step is an advanced drill, as now the swimmer replaces the pull buoy with a stretch band placed around the swimmer's ankles. The swimmer now will need to work harder as the stretch band offers no buoyancy assistance. My next set of drills develop the kick. Swimmers can start off holding a kickboard, arms extended in front. Swimmers can also try kicking without a float. Arms are extended in the glide position. Small arm movements may be used for support. Another advanced drill that can be used in training. Swimmer's arms are rested by her side while her heels raise and touch her fingers.
I hope you found this podcast beneficial, and I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you for watching my podcast.